they do even no one make person talk. Them say that Mayegun, that man too they talk. He too they talk. Say Mayegun diary, he dey hot like pepper. But every day then they take money in bulk. Woman pikin dey the street they hawk. Still them talk say make we no talk. But thank God say Mayegun don't come. So my people make you laugh. Oh yo yo, Mayegun don't come. Oh yo yo, my people make you shout. Oh yo yo, Mayegun don't come. Oh yo yo, Mayegun the command of the masses.
Hello there.
Mayegun làwa mọ̀, làmọ̀ tó dòdòdò. Mayegun làwa mọ̀, làmọ̀ tó dòdòdò.
Good morning to you, good afternoon to you, and good evening to you from wherever you are joining us this moment. It is Sunday sermon on Mayegun's Diary Politico, the Temple of Truth. Please hear the broadcast. Thank you so much for joining me, and apologies that I didn't show up last night. So I was exhausted. So I needed that break. But somehow I am back and refreshed. So read the caption of the broadcast, the description of the broadcast, hear it. Invite your friends, invite your not so friendly friends. Tell them that Mayegun today. Since the purported draft for a change of system in Nigeria from the current unitary pseudo-democracy to a regional system of government, it has sparked a never seen before reaction of rage from Arewa, Nigeria. Arewa, Nigeria are now claiming that others destroyed northern Nigeria so that they can now break up Nigeria. If Nigeria should go the regional system way, the northern Nigeria will suffer. Therefore, they will never let that happen. That has been the position always so. But this time around, more people are now interested. Why is northern Nigeria going to suffer if Nigeria should go to regional system or break up? Right now, they are now feeling cheated by Tifnumbu, deceived by Tifnumbu. Motide. So good morning to you once again. Good afternoon to you. And good evening to you. Happy Sunday. Okay. It is Mayegun live. And right now, for those who knows the rules of the Sunday sermon, we call it no holds bar session. It is so different from the usual and regular. And we usually advise everyone who is joining this type of broadcast for the first time, Mayegun's Diary Political on a Sunday sermon, to know the following. This is where we call it exactly what it is. And we do not see criminals differently, whether they are old, young, educated, not educated, it doesn't really matter where they come from. Now, if you are the type who love your oppressors differently, don't worry, it's all right. We identify different group of people on this platform, and we deal with everyone according to what they believe, except for those who live in denial. There are those who have joined Mayegun's Diary Political because the topic of conversation was on the people they don't like. Oh, this guy is great. I never liked these people too. Oh, I'm glad that this guy doesn't like them too. But if you by any means think that is how it works here, no, it's not. It simply means that if the table turns, which it does almost every now and then, I am talking about those of you who love your oppressors differently. Some of you believe that your own oppressors, they are better than the other people's oppressors. Or your own oppressor, though they are corrupt and criminally minded, but they have fear of God. Others don't. And all of these kind of preferences you have. Oh, this criminal they are talking about is from my tribe. Oh, that's an insult on my tribe. I know you hate my tribe. That is why you are attacking us. Don't watch Mayegun's Diary Political on Sunday for your own mental health. You get that? And if you are the type that easily, there are people of easy handling, kind of. Those of you who have submitted to the religious manipulations, there is religion, there is religious manipulation. What you have in Nigeria is more than just religion, and even more than religious manipulation, indoctrination and all of that. So if you are the type who carry God and a defender of God, you are advised not to really watch Mayegun's Diary Political on Sunday, because it could be the turn of your pastor, your imam, okay? So the point I am trying to make here is this. This is not a time or a place to be politically correct. You do not demand respect for criminals, whether they are old, young, or they come from your tribe or your religion. What we do here, because listen to this, everyone, I believe, knows the problem of Nigeria. You know it, I know it. Most of the time, these people always jump around and ask, hey, what is the solution? What is the way forward? But the problem here is this. Majority of those who claim to know the problems of Nigeria, they are partly involved in that problem because they want you to talk about the problems, but don't talk about those who are creating the problems. Because by talking about those who are creating the problem, who are creating the division, the insecurity, and all of these that are bedeviling Nigeria, you are likely going to be mentioning people they know, people they respect, people they prefer their own kind of criminality to others. The ones they will tell you, is he the only one? Leave him alone. Go and talk about that one. And that is where we get to separate boys from men. Those who are easily manipulated or have already been manipulated, that can no longer be saved. We know them. They watch this platform too. But to those of you who have managed to have mentally bypass all of these kind of manipulations, distractions, then you have no problem of watching Mayegun on Sundays, do you? Having said that, here we are. Some want you to say Nigeria is going to be better. And they will go as far as asking you to propose solutions. But guess what? Every Nigerian has a solution to Nigeria problem in their own way. But the problem is this, majority of them have never had the chance of actually being in position of implementing what they think is their own solution. Why? You do not give solutions to people who are deliberately and intentionally destroying a country. You get rid of them. Let us give them solution. At least it's not everything you'll be criticizing and criticizing. Let's give them solution. What kind of solution would you give to people who are intentionally looting the country, who are intentionally lawless, who are intentionally above the laws themselves? What kind of solution would you give to them? Advice? You don't. You come together and get rid of them. And that is a problem on its own. Getting rid of them means different thing. If a Yoruba man is in charge, are we going to now support other people to remove? If they remove a Yoruba man now, who is going to be there next? Coming together to actually get something that works for you is almost impossible because they have succeeded in indoctrinating us from birth, right? Never to see ourselves as one. But we put up appearances. Oh, a great country, happiest people, and all of that nonsense they put out until Bokwari came, and Bokwari put the wedge. All of the vote lines are being all the red lines that should never be crossed. Bokwari crossed them. It practically shown all of us where we belong in that contraption. It brought an end to the lie of our problem is leadership. Once we get leadership right now, Bokwari settled that. The deceit ended with him. But some want to leave it on. Yeah? You can't. Whatever is happening in Nigeria today is not by accident. Okay? When they deliberately borrowing money, sharing it among themselves, taxing you, sharing the money among themselves, putting up a bogus, non-impactful real project on your lives, policies that continue to make life hell, but they were basking in the euphoria of, yes, what can you do? Then somebody says, let us give them solution. Give solution to who? Like they don't know what they are doing. No, you don't know what you are doing. So this past week, there is a draft of a proposed regional system of government in Nigeria. And this regional system of government is practically what Nigeria was before it was brought to an end in 1966. Now, back then, it was like everybody was on their own. There was an arrangement though, right, where the proceeds of their resources could be a little bit that kind of shared at the center. There was no reason to hate ourselves. In fact, we barely see ourselves. Especially northern Nigeria was totally isolated from the rest of southern Nigeria. Like even since they said they did the amalgamation in 1914, they never allowed the North to meet the South. So the British made that happen for decades. And that was to be maintained. So the moment we finally met ourselves, we never agreed on anything. Ever. So that should be a sign that we shouldn't be the same country. Okay? We shouldn't. Or fast forward to 64 years after, northern Nigeria ruled Nigeria for 47 years out of that 64 years. And they intentionally impoverished their people and led them as much as they could, right? They led them to the path of subordinates. But at the same time, again, they were telling them that they were born to rule. Poverty was the order of the day. Education was like haram, intentionally. And for those of you who know the history very well, the Fulani oligarch that terrorized the northern Nigeria and took over the Hausa land, they decided that only their own children would be educated. And that was what the British maintained. And scholarships were given to the children of the poor that will be educated to serve them. When the rest of Nigeria were practicing representative democracy, kind of, in that colonial time, when they were choosing people to represent them, when people were vying for positions, in northern Nigeria, the Fulani Emirate, Sultanate, they were sending their own children to represent the North. Meanwhile, it's practically like they were representing them. That was the practice. And it was always like rankadede, rankadede, rankadede. Kind of. That's not the southern part, right? Then they fused us together. They now told them, the case of Nigeria is a case of the rich wife and a very poor, barbaric husband. That was how the British described Nigeria, northern Nigeria and southern Nigeria. The people therein were never asked if they want to live together, if they want to be a country. We were never asked. We were told that, okay, they've chosen our independence, so then all of you should come together and work together and make it work. So the poor, aggressive, uneducated, backward, uncivilized husband is northern Arewa that continue to cling on to the middle belt, the one they couldn't defeat when Uthman Danfodio was alive, the first official terrorist of today's Nigeria. Don't get mad. That is your history. When you're writing the history of Nigeria, the first official terrorist to betray the trust of his own host, who were very good to him, he was given everything. He was allowed to teach Islamic studies in Hausa land, only for him to turn the children against their parents. And the rest is history. They slaughtered them. They killed them. They didn't convert them. They killed hundreds of thousands in order to dominate and be where they are now. Still, they couldn't really dominate other than the use of force. That is the history. They were stopped in the middle belt of Nigeria. That is the history of Nigeria. So then the British handed that over to them and said, okay, we are handing this new Nigeria, new country, to this barbaric, uncivilized bunch of Islamic jihadists. That is Nigeria history. That is why Nigeria never worked. Then somehow they were told that the places they couldn't conquer with their sword and arrows has been bequeathed to them, and that would be Nigeria. But despite all of that, 64 years after, they could not improve the lives of the millions of their descendants because they were told whether they should just exist, Nigeria will feed them. As long as Nigeria continue to share money, as long as Nigeria exists, according to their design, then they will survive. No investment is made on education, not on infrastructure, like provision of water, healthcare, okay? I'm talking about irrigated farmlands, knowing your area, having access to the resources of Nigeria for 47 years. And in 2024, your descendants, your children are hungry when they hear the word regional system of government. And somehow, they are now victims of Nigeria. No be juju be that. I have seen reactions online. I have even seen reactions from Lagos. This is why they didn't allow history in your schools. But you can actually catch up on history of Nigeria. And the moment you know the history of this contraption, all of the lies will begin to fall like pack of cards. Nigeria will be great. Nigeria will be great. I'm a proud Nigerian, proud Nigerian. All this nonsense will disappear from your medulla oblongata. I promise you. There was nothing called Lagos State in Yoruba land. Okay? But there was a Lagos colony which never went beyond that Lagos Island. Ekpe. And up to the, what do you call it? The entire mainland. They were the lands of the Jebus, the Aworis, the Egbas, and many more. And when they talk about Lagos that was not part of southwest Nigeria, they are not talking about this Lagos. This is not the Lagos. This Lagos you have now is the creation of Gowon, the Fulani-led, the Fulani-backed jihad of 1966. So they had to cut out the land and then created a place called Lagos State. So if Lagos, if all of you, the descendants of the Lagos, next to that water, chooses to remain there and kind of have your own part cut out, you know where you have to cut out. And that is where the referendum comes in. Okay? That is where you will know that the people have the chance of deciding. History is great. You can be a student of history and not a prisoner of it. You see all these politically motivated, divisive rhetorics. We know they are not new. But guess what? They are all signs that Nigeria is coming to an end. So Nigeria will have to experience two things, and very soon. The first one is going to be, indeed, the real push for regional system of government, which gives regional autonomy to everyone, and they cut off all of the parasites whose forefathers were so lazy, so selfish, that all of the money they made from Nigeria, they kept them for themselves, so that their own generations yet unborn would never have to actually suffer. But millions of northerners who they claimed to be leading will be born into poverty, one after the other, one generation after the other. So you should know that your descendants, your own forefathers, that we now call the parasites, they are indeed parasites. They have succeeded in dragging the rest of Nigeria down the rabbit hole, the one they have dug, or they have kept majority of you for years using religion and other barbaric, uncivilized teachings that make you feel like you deserve to live as slaves in your own country, if you have any country at all. So the news of regional system hits them so hard, and they have reacted pretty much the same. And some of them are now saying that Tinubu deceived them, that Tinubu has a plan. In fact, they are already putting together a delegate from northern Nigeria to go and see Tinubu so that he can reassure them that there is no plan to push for regionalism. Here is something you should know that is triggering all of this. They are not false alarms. They are real alarms. and they are good. This is good that it is happening now. Okay? So pay attention. At first, whatever the calculation was that made them believe that Tinubu, who said his priority was to return Nigeria back to anthem. Sorry about that break, I think it's the network acting up. Let me take a look. Just a quick one to be sure that everything is fine. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think we are all good. Right. Tinubu that did not consult with anyone at all, as it is the case whenever you are trying to amend a constitution